What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of If There's a Will, There's a Wave. I'm Jeremy, this is Cleo, and we're restoring this 1973 32-foot Luhr's Flybridge Sportfisher that we plan to have back on the water by the end of June 2021. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the current build progress. We already got the old engines out, purchased the new ones, and in this episode we install a new ladder on the swim deck and check in with the build progress overall. Let's get into it. As you guys can see, I'm tracing out the brackets with a pencil, and I'm doing this in the closed position to make sure that when we drill it, it's in the correct placement to not rub on the back of the boat. From here, we opened it up to try to match the brackets to the outlines that we drew, but it was at this point that I noticed the outlines were not really matching up as the brackets moved slightly between open and closed positions. To combat this, we decided to drill one side of the bracket first, that way we can anchor down the ladder and then follow up with the second side. But before we can do any drilling, we had to make sure we had some backing plates. Speaking of backing plates, this is what we're talking about. I actually happen to have the perfect piece of scrap wood that fit exactly between the slats on the swim deck. And this is what it looked like. It was, I believe, a 2x2 wooden post that had some paint and was a little rough on the edges. So we just decided to hit all the sides with some 220 sandpaper to make it nice and smooth and ready for the protection coat. I'm gonna go ahead and make a second one of these, and then we'll be applying some weatherproofing and waterproofing. Okay, so we got both blocks done. Next thing we're gonna do is apply some of this stuff, which you've seen it before in a previous episode. I'll link it here. It's the same stuff that I used to treat all the marine seats that I made, all the DIY marine upholstery. Yeah, you want to do it? You want to see it? Check it out. So this stuff is called Black Flag Terminate Wood Preservative. Resist rot, mold, mildew, swelling, warping. Use on fences, deck posts, end cut, structural lumber. It doesn't say marine, but you know what? This is not a structural part of the boat, so it's not a big deal. But honestly, I think this will do the trick. It's just gonna protect it from, water getting into it, from termites, and yeah, it's good stuff. So after all, it will be a replaceable piece if it needs to be. So let me just read these instructions real quick. And okay, we're good. Let's do this. So for best results, it says that you can actually just dip your wood into the solution and leave it there for between 12 to 48 hours, or until the wood is completely penetrated. So I'm just gonna go for the 12 hours. This is actually not gonna be underwater, if anything it would get splashed on. We are gonna do the 12 hours minimum, and we'll just let that soak. It's probably gonna get more than that, and I will let you know if it does. Alright, so I still got my lines drawn up from the day before. Okay, so there's one bracket and here's the other one. I made sure that it's going to have a solid spot to be mounted into, right? So this is a flat section right here, another flat section right here. I got some backing blocks which we're going to be putting underneath here, right, to help support the weight. There's that, and then I did have these guys treated so that's the reason why they're green. They'll be a little bit more weatherproof. They'll resist molding and warping and all that other stuff, so that's good. So these are the results. I'm extremely pleased with how it turned out. Honestly, it looks as if it came on the boat. I know the swim deck is a little dirty. Obviously, we gotta clean it. And yes, we do have a little chip in the swim deck as well. That is something that we will be fixing in the future. But aside from that, this thing looks amazing. Yeah, looks good. By the way, if you guys don't know, the boat's name, or at least old name, was the Bounty Hunter, but I like to just call it the Bouncer for short. It used to be docked in San Pedro, so when we actually put it back in the marina, it'll be close to its old home, which is pretty cool. But for now, let's go ahead and get into the build update. Where are we at? This is the question.
That is the question.
Well, we got both of our engines purchased. For you guys who don't know, we have both engines purchased. We got some Chevy 350s. Look at some of the older videos as in like last week or the week before. I post every single week, so it's very current stuff. The issue that I'm having is the risers, okay? So as you guys saw in the actual video where I was building up the engine, there was a lot of parts that just did not fit. A lot of issues with, you know, something that I bought that, you know, it said that it was supposed to be for this engine, but it turned out to not work, or that I was missing a certain piece. For instance, like I got the fuel pump. I didn't realize that there is a fuel pump bracket that basically sandwiches between the engine and the fuel pump. So I have to order one of those. They're cheap, no big deal. I just have to wait for it to arrive. The intake manifold bolts, I got those purchased. Those will be coming in sometime this week. So I'm just honestly waiting for parts, and I'm kind of, you know, it's tough when you have to spend a big sum of money on some parts and it turns out to not work, and then you have to send them back. You lose a little bit of money because you have to pay for shipping fees. So there's a lot of process. I already bought a second set of risers, and again, they didn't work. I can show you here what the issue is that it looks like it's really close, okay? Like the bolts, they would, you know, I can make them fit, right, with the gasket, but the actual ports where the water would be passing through, the gasket actually covers a good portion of that. And so I don't think that that's how it's supposed to be at all. So I called Summit, and unfortunately they're having the same issue that I'm having. The description that these products have are basically identical. The only thing that's different between them is the part number. So one of the specialists there, they couldn't decipher what's going on, which actual riser I needed. So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. Basically, I'm gonna call Sierra Marine and trying to see which riser goes with the exhaust manifold that I have. I will directly, you know, be talking to them, hopefully. So that's a little bit of what's holding us back. I guess I'm gonna be buying some new carburetors. I'm reading you guys' comments and stuff. I guess it does make sense to probably not try to, you know, MacGyver and piece together an old carburetor that's already had its life taken. You know, if I just wait a little bit and save up, I can purchase some new ones. And, you know, ideally these are still worth some money to somebody, so I can sell these. I got the engines for sale. If you guys are interested, I got two Chrysler 318s, presumably from the 70s era. I believe that they're the original engines to this boat, and I can tell you, if you're really interested, I can tell you the hours that I have on the hour gauge. But yeah, they need to be rebuilt. If you're just interested in parts and stuff, they're fully, you know, they're fully clothed, fully dressed, is I guess what they call it. Fully clothed. Anyways, they're fully dressed. You're able to take whatever you want. I may be interested in keeping the alternators that are on there, but you know, everything else is pretty much fair game. I've got pretty much everything all organized. This is the closed cooling system, the old starter over here, and you know, just a whole bunch of stuff. So if you're interested, let me know. By all means, I'm trying to get rid of all this stuff. I need space again. So you guys have seen the engines. Here. So as of right now, this transmission and this transmission are not for sale. If you're interested, too bad. But if you are interested, keep tabs, because I need to find out if I can reuse them. Ideally, I do want to reuse these transmissions with the new Chevy 350s, okay? Obviously, I'm gonna clean them up, have them look through, and get them all pretty so they could, you know, not be sore thumbs on these brand new sexy things, you know what I mean? So these are Paragon transmissions, okay? My thing that I'm trying to do, and if any of you guys know about this, please, like, send me a link, let me know. What we're trying to do, these are Paragon transmissions that are currently paired with the bell housing for a Chrysler 318, okay? And what I need, either an adapter plate or a new bell housing that will allow us to attach this transmission to a Chevy 350, okay? So if any of you guys know about that, please help me out, let me know. There's that. Otherwise, I got these Chrysler 318s for sale, okay? They come with everything you see. You got the risers, you got literally the block, you got the flywheel with the clutch on there, okay? Everything you see here. Minus possibly the alternator there and possibly this alternator. but also maybe not, because that one's newer and this one is not as new. And I would probably want to keep the new one. So yeah, and they all have, you know, it's got everything you need. It's got the water pump here, it's got the raw water pump off to the side. All right, so very cool, very cool. I gotta tell you guys, this is so buttery. I don't think that there's really anything wrong with these transmissions. They're both like that. So I hope I can reuse them. Another question. This is the port side transmission, okay? And it looks like this. You see, it kind of goes in like a triangular shape, right? Boom. And they're supposed to be the exact same transmissions, right? Paragon. Now, if you go over to the starboard side engine, why does this one have this giant, you know, bulbous thing over here on the V drive, you know, on the turnaround, you know, like that? That's interesting to me. So this was on the starboard side. I was thinking that it was bigger because it had gears to reverse the actual rotation of a standard rotation engine, so that you would omit having to get a reverse engine. But when it actually came down to practicing to seeing, okay, if I turn the drive this direction, which way does the propeller shaft go? They both spin in the same direction. So that wasn't the case. If I go to the right, the drive goes to the left. And if I go to the left, the drive goes to the right. Okay? And it's the exact same thing on this guy. So I don't understand why, if they're the same transmissions, why does this one have this giant, you know, backside? That doesn't make sense to me. And the cooling, for instance, like the actual cooling hoses would go one into here, and I guess the exit out of here, so it would be cooling this whole section, while the cooling on this transmission is in a completely different location. You know, it's just routed completely different. So what's going on here, guys? Big question mark. All right, I'm getting out of this tent because it's extremely hot. And with that, we'll end this episode with a sneak peek of unmasking the engine bay. See you guys next week.